Welcome to USA Global TV and Radio, where our mission is to provide education, entertainment, hope, and inspiration. USA Global TV and Radio connects you with experts and audiences all around the world every single day to help you succeed in business and to live a richer life. Visit us at usaglobaltv.com to learn about career and life-changing training and mentoring programs like the Listening Mentor. Subscribe to our newsletter to stay informed about our special programs and offers. Discover how you can become a guest on one of our shows or a host or producer of a USA Global TV and Radio show of your very own. That's USA Global TV and Radio, where the doctor is always in.
Hello and welcome and good afternoon, well, it's good evening actually, to USA Global TV and Radio for an exciting show, the Film and Music Show. First, I want to just just welcome our USA Global TV, Radio and Radio viewers, and also welcome the new viewers as well. But before I introduce today's exciting guest, oh, by the way, my name is Dr. Chan. How could I forget that? Yeah, absolutely. And I am going to be your host for the Film and Music Show. So as I was saying, before we bring in our exciting guest for today's show, I would like to share with you some very exciting news on the mothership of the USA Global TV and Radio. Dr. Jacqueline, the CEO, Chief of Operations, the actual founder, the mother of USA Global TV and Radio, is asking us all, and I'm reaching out to all of you, we have a massive mountain to achieve, but it's not going to be a mountain because we're already nearly there. And it's to subscribe to USA Global TV and Radio on the YouTube channel. There's two channels. There's USA Global TV and Radio YouTube channel, and there is another channel as well, the Dr. Jacqueline Kerbeck channel as well. So right now, currently, the goal is 100,000 subscribers. We started at 37,895. I have wonderful news to announce that we are currently on this hour 37,916. Our goal as a collective of the mothership USA Global TV and Radio is to achieve 100K for both channels for September. End of September or beginning September, but September is it. So we're going to ask you all, please do support us and subscribe to both channels. Let's keep hope, education, the platform of USA Global TV and Radio. Right. Without further ado, I am now going to present to you. She's a very, very dear friend. She really is. And I met this wonderful woman, passionate, wonderful, creative, heart awakened woman through Dr. Jacqueline. And her name is Jenetta Barry. She comes on to the shows A Woman's Prerogative last week, and she was a guest. She regularly guests on the show. She's been a TV presenter and a host on the show as well. And right now she is in Kenya, and the time is right near enough going up to 9:45. So what I would like to say is she's a creative heart awakened because Jenetta has come from a whole family of professional music artists, performers, the theatre. And her herself has been a ballerina, a ballet teacher. She's also been a musical director, but I'm going to let Jenetta actually come in and tell her yourself. Okay, welcome, beautiful Jenetta Barry. Hello.
I disappeared. We're having problems with internet connection here in Kenya, and I disappeared, and I arrived just as you were saying, Jenetta Barry. So how's that for timing?
That's perfect timing. Absolutely.
Hello, everybody. Hello, Madeleine, and hello, Dr. Jacqueline, behind the scenes producing this show tonight. So thrilled to be with you all again.
Oh, we are so happy to have you as a guest, Jenetta, in the fact that what's going on at the moment and the fact that at the time at the moment, how late it is. So I just want to say thank you so much for agreeing to be a guest on the Film and Music Show. Thank you. So, Jenetta, can you tell our audience in the space of, I don't know, 2-3 minutes, who you are, what you do, and we'll start off from there.
Brilliant. Thank you, Maddie, and thank you for the time to be able to share this. Obviously, my name is Jenetta Barry, and I assist people all over the world, and I have been for about 17 years now, to deal with challenges in such a way that they form new conversations on a conscious and an unconscious level, because we all know what we think we want to say, but often what we're feeling unconsciously holds us back. So I have a very special process that allows you to bring out the best way to communicate without being held back with that internal dialogue that holds us back. And my process is called the Epiphany process. And it came to me after much studying when I, through lack of communication skills, was not able to express myself completely to my 16-year-old daughter, Jenny, who was suffering from depression and suicidal ideation. And we unfortunately did lose her when she was 16. And it's helped me to move on and help thousands of people all around the world to start communicating in a heart-filled way that doesn't have all that internal dialogue that we have often about how inadequate we are. And then I also am the founder of World Jenny's Day, named after Jenny, who happened to die on World Mental Health Day by coincidence. And we use this day to promote mental health wellness, and we use it using the theatrical arts and the arts and film and all sorts of ways of changing conversations through the arts. And then on the other side, I should say to you, I live most of the time in Kenya, where I was brought up, part of where today is going to be featured. What we talk about. I hope you can hear me because I can see I'm coming and going. Can you hear me all right?
Yes, Jenetta, there's a little bit of a disturbance on. But anyway, we'll carry through. The show goes on at the end. It really does. So I was going to say,
Excellent.
Jenetta, I wanted to ask a question. First of all, with regards to with the World Jenny's Day in the arts and the music, do you feel that the music and the arts play a significant role in the mental health scenario, mental health?
Absolutely, without any hesitation and without a shadow of a doubt. And I'll be taking you and our viewers and listeners there today as we cover a little bit on Insight, which is a theatrical production we put on here some years ago in Kenya, addressing depression and suicide and the solutions using contemporary dance, voiceover, music, visuals. And it had such an impact on people who went to see it, from those who were suffering from this, going at last we're being understood, and for those who didn't understand it, and also for the families trying to deal with that in their families, with somebody really battling with this. And the art form is such a beautiful way to soften and normalize the conversation for a subject that's been given an unfair stigma, without a doubt.
Yeah, that. I must say that it's commendable, your work and what you're doing with Insight, which of course we'll have a look at that later and we'll share with the viewers the full ins and outs of it. So have you always been, Jenetta, when you were young, you were growing up, have you always had a passion for the arts?
I have, and that is why today I put together a bit of a deck to have a look at the background of this, because I was basically born into a background of theatre and music and film with my family, and it was with it's with great pride that I show this today, because neither of my parents were born into that background. And they met each other, had the same interests. My mother was already on the stage in the West End. And my dad had this amazing ability to just take all matters to do with theatre and music and know exactly what to do. And he became an impresario, self-made impresario. And I'll share a little bit with it. So I would like to suggest that we bring
Yes.
up the first picture if we've got
Yes,
it there.
please. Yes.
There it is. So this is my dad in his studio in Kenya. He was known as the father of Kenyan music. When I speak to people in Kenya nowadays, they always consider the era that he produced all this music as the classic era. And they can't believe that a white man from Coventry, England, created all these different amazing styles of African music. And on the left here is actually a program that was live flighted 2 weeks ago here in Kenya at the Kenya Broadcasting Corporation, basically giving the background of my dad, having come from Coventry, and how he experimented with kwela, which is a South African form of music, and sax, and the penny whistle, also from South Africa. And then he invented something called the African twist. And then he experimented with Alvin and the Chipmunks and put that into another song, and they were all in Swahili. And plus the fact he could not read music or play an instrument. So you can imagine my growing up with that amount of self-made talent, where he hadn't been born into anything like that. My grandfather was a major in the army, the British Army, and my grandmother was a homemaker. And that was his background, basically, in Coventry. And he put Kenya and East Africa really on the international map. And one of the songs that has been sung worldwide by many, many famous people is a song called Malaika. And Malaika is Swahili for angel. And it's a very simple song, but it's a very beautiful song about a man singing to his love of his life, saying, I can't afford to marry you because I don't have enough money for your dowry. And he calls her Angel. So but it's been sung by Harry Belafonte and Boney M and Brothers Four and Pete Seeger, just so many people around the world. But the lovely thing about this program 2 weeks ago was that some of the music I hadn't heard, and it was just fascinating to listen to my dad. He obviously had such fun experimenting with different styles. It was amazing. It was an amazing thing. So that's the background of my dad. And then, yeah.
Yeah, I was going to say, Jenetta, if I can just say in the way that it's incredible. Your father during that time, I mean, but what year would that have been?
Well, we arrived in Kenya in the late 50s when I was a baby in arms, and he was with Alexander Films then, so he was very much in the film industry at that time, although he'd been in the theatre before that, directing and producing and writing a lot for African Consolidated Theatres. And then when independence to Kenya came, he and Mum decided they would carry on, even though the company he was with decided to pull out. And that's when he found this studio in the back of nowhere with these artists, and he found a very dusty reel-to-reel tape of various songs that had been workshopped in the studio. And this particular one, he completely restyled it and gave it a bit of a calypso beat, and that is Malaika. And there's no looking back. There are many kids, including my grandchild, around the world called Malaika because of that song. And without his input, there would be no song and no people called Malaika. So it was huge. And it's sitting most of my holidays in either my mum's company or at the studio, I learned so much what my dad was doing and about recording levels and all sorts of things. It was an amazing upbringing. Amazing.
Well, I find it incredible, Jenetta, in the way that with music, we can bring a proper message. All musicians and songwriters, no matter what's going on politically or racial at that time, it's commendable, the movement that your father created, like Western music, East African music, and in music it's universal language. So there's no racialism when it comes to music, because it's a world on itself.
That's a very good point, because back then there was. And there was a definite divide of, well, there's Western music and then there's really strange music, and African music isn't intelligent, it isn't sophisticated, it isn't anything, it's just African music. And there was a very strong feeling and vibe back in the 50s and 60s like that. It was considered to be a lower form of entertainment. And I really believe that Dad was one of those people that started changing that attitude, as he could see so much in Benga music, which started in the Congo. And he took it and he expanded and experimented with it. And even in this program 2 weeks ago, Madhu, who conducted the whole thing, he was saying you can always tell a Charles Warren Equator sound recording because the standard of quality was so high back then. And there was no computerization. I mean, look at his turntable there in the control room. That was the pride and joy that it was a Grundig turntable.
A Grundig? Is that like, but those old gramophones, like the gramophones? Is it of the similar?
Yeah, that's an actual record on the turntable there. One of his records. Yeah.
Oh, fabulous! How exciting. So as a little girl, did you often go to the studio with your father?
Every day after work, I got picked
Yeah.
up from school and I was sitting there, and then in my holidays as well. And I even made a record at one stage. I must have been about 8 when Dad recorded me and an American girl called Jane Alexander. We sang together. And on the flip side, there were 2 Kikuyu children singing in Swahili, a folk song. So yeah, I had a lot of exposure to that. One of the songs he made was called Bush Baby Twist, which he decided US had Alvin and the Chipmunks, and the film had recently come out in the 50s. So he said, no, there can be an African version, and he called it the Bush Baby Twist. And so he had all in Swahili. He had the fast singing and the fast talking and then the normal playing, and he didn't have computers in those days. So I can remember him spending months marrying up the 2 speeds into one record. It was a work of art.
Well, it certainly is. And obviously later on, not today, of course, but you'll be able to share where people can hear. Is it Malachi?
Yes. Malaika.
Malaika, sorry. Malaika. It's quite a mouthful. I really apologize. But moving on now.
Yes.
I'd like you to share with the audience about you as a dancer, your passion for dancing.
Yes. Well, it all began with my mum. So there are a couple of photos I'm going to whiz through now of mum and what it was that this was mum. One of her publicity photos when she was performing on the West End of London. And she was about 18 there. She was quite young. Oh no, this is gone. Oh my word. I'm having a good time here. Let's try this again.
It'll come back. It's a glitch. It's just a glitch.
It's a glitch. It's a glitch. It is. I'll be there.
Oh, we have someone coming in who's asking a question from Claudio Saiva. Good evening, Claudio. How are you? And he's saying good evening from Coventry to you, Jenetta and Maddie.
Claudio, how wonderful to have Coventry part of this tonight. So very, very, very special.
He's saying, I see why you're so amazing now, Jenetta, because you take after your father. What an amazing story and what an amazing man. I love you both. Oh, that's lovely, Claudio. Thank you. And thank you for tuning in. Thank you.
Thank you. I hope that's working now. Are you getting this or not? Let's have a look-see. Okay.
Let's bring it through. Let's bring it through.
Okay.
Oh, there you go. Yes. It's through.
Yes, we go. So there we go. This was mum when she 14, 15, 16, somewhere around there. Her first performances on the West End. You can see she's quite young looking there. And then as she got older, although this photo on the right is from the musical Showboat, she must have been about 18 there. The one on the left, I think she was nearly 20. That's from the operetta Gay Rosalinda. So from musicals to operettas. The one on the far left here is a pantomime, and the one on the right was extra ballet backing to a show on the West End. I'm not sure which. The one on the left here is also a pantomime she was in. And the picture on the right is another part of Gay Rosalinda where she went into tutu and up on points. So there. And on the left, you see again, that was this one on the left. She's about 15 there on a West End show. That was a pantomime. And on the right, she was the first ballet dancer in the West End to fly on stage. So it was a record in the West End to have actual flying ballet. I mean, they had Peter Pan flying, but not dancing. And she danced. She actually did somersaults and all sorts of things in the air. being a butterfly fairy in that one. So she really made history on the West End stage there. So that was Mum. And then to fast forward, and I don't know if you want to ask any questions, and to cut a very long story short, because Mum and Dad had a huge history, or they had their own theatre company and all sorts of things. But when we ended up in Kenya, all the work we did was at this theatre, which is opposite my ballet studio. I'm going to talk a bit about my ballet mistress a bit just now. But this is the Kenya National Theatre. And I grew up in this theatre. If I wasn't at home, I was in this theatre. If one of us was in a show, the whole family was involved. And I'm going to show you that just now. It was the most amazing experience to have this building as my second home.
I find it looks beautiful. And the fact that you've got your family, the bond was even more deeper. The fact that
Yes.
you all supported each other.
Exactly. It was all, and in fact, Dad was also a theatre critic for the local newspaper, and for a while, so was my mum for another paper. And in fact, that picture there is of Arnie Umium on the left there. Arnie is the choreographer of a production I'm going to show a little bit later. He's from the Philippines. This is a more modern photo of the theatre. And then this was my ballet teacher. And what a story there. This is a book I'm still putting together. Madame Zerkovitz came from Russia, and she grew up in Petersburg and did trained ballet there. She was related to the Romanovs, and would go away on holiday in the summer with the Tsar and Tsarina. And she was about 15, 16 when the Russian Revolution broke out. And she ended up fleeing to Finland and then Germany and Paris. She danced all over doing dancing, and then married her husband, who was a Russian Jew. And they ended up, long story short, with their small son on a boat from Palestine to Kenya. We were told they were refugees. I've now since found out that they were spies for England, and it had got too hot. They were just about to be found out by Hitler, and UK put them on a boat to Kenya. And she just carried on doing these most incredible Russian style ballets. They built her a beautiful sprung studio in Kenya, in Nairobi. And that's where I started with her when I was 2 years old. And my father did all her sound for all her ballets. And so, yeah, that's Madame Zerkovitz, who would be about 140 now, I think.
I was going to say, yeah. Jenetta, that's an incredible story.
Yeah,
about how her and her husband came over to Kenya.
In fact, sorry, you were saying?
And I was just going to say, those glasses. How did you concentrate on ballet, knowing that she's got those glasses on? Sorry,
listen, she was an incredibly strict lady. So glasses and all, if Madam said jump, you'd go how high. He was in Swahili. We have a word for strict, and that's Kali, after the goddess Kali, and she was one Kali mama. You didn't mess around.
How long were you? Was she your ballet tutor? How long?
Well, here, have a look at these next. This is me in my very first ballet. So I danced 2 dances. I was Sleepy the dwarf in Snow White and the 7 Dwarfs. And then I was a poodle in the circus in another dance. And that head is under my arm went on. Both those masks were incredibly hot. I remember thinking I'm going to pass out. But yeah, my mum made those costumes. And And the most wonderful thing is I put on a ballet years later here in Kenya, 3-act Sleeping Beauty ballet. And I went to find, there's another theatre here, and I went to look through all their costumes, and I found that yellow smock with my name in it. I'm going, this is amazing, because I was featuring Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs in that ballet. So, in fact, Anita Diamond, who sang the Song of Resolution for World Jenny's Day, wore that in that ballet when she was 7 years old, all those years later. It's amazing how that happens.
Yeah, and the way that you can recycle, and the fact you can, I mean, I think it's wonderful that your mother actually, she sewed and created your costumes.
Yeah, no,
That
she did
saved a
that.
lot of money. That saved a lot of
Well,
money.
it helped Madam, of course, as well, because the costumes always stayed in her wardrobes. And then when she died, those wardrobes were handed over to Braeburn Theatre, which is why I happened to coincidentally come across my dwarf costume 30 years, 40 years later, going, this is my costume. This is amazing. And I was able to get Anita to wear it, and she was Sleepy the Dwarf. So, and then this is, as things progressed, I went on to point, and the picture on the left, I was about 9, 10. On the right, I was about 11. That was a spring fairy. On the right, I was part of a dream, a dance about a dream. And then it progressed more and more. I was the cat in the Bluebird. There were 5 main characters in the Bluebird ballet, and I danced the cat. And on the right, of course, goes without too much explanation. Obviously, I was Alice in Wonderland with the rabbit. So Mum didn't make the rabbit's costume, but she did make my my cat costume and my Alice costume.
Can I ask a question, Jenetta, about the ballet, your ballet shoes? How many ballet shoes did you have to have?
You know, if you're dancing, I was dancing 6 days a week, week in, week out. So I went through a lot. And you once you break the back, they go quite quickly. And you need to break the back to dance correctly. And they had to all be imported at incredible price. And my dad poured all his money into the studio. He even second mortgaged his house for that recording studio. So money was pretty tight for us as we were growing up. So my shoes became a very big item. Very big item. So as much as I went through them like wildfire, I also had to cherish them at the same time and be very careful. I had to darn them. You know, the bottom of the shoe has to be darned, hand darning, like darning a sock. And that was expected. I wasn't asked to do it. My mum would say, you want to dance? We've had to buy these shoes, and you darn the points. And I used to get blisters on my fingers darning these shoes, but they lasted. And but I went through many pairs.
I should imagine. I mean, they're absolutely beautiful, especially when you go on your points. Did you suffer feet, any kind of symptoms on your feet? It must have put a toll on your feet.
Not in terms
on
of
your
weight.
toes.
Yeah, not in terms of weight, but in terms of chafing. So all of us as dancers had to constantly put our feet into methylated spirits to harden the skin of the toes, and so you wouldn't get blisters and start bleeding. Because the moment your feet start bleeding, it's such a pain. So my feet were always in bowls of methylated spirits. being hardened up. And then otherwise, it's like flying. When you're on those points, it feels like you're flying. It's the most beautiful feeling when you're turning and moving in the most beautiful ways. I just can't describe it until you do it, but it's really, you get transformed. It takes you into another world. And that's why ballet dancers love ballet so much. It's indescribable, really. Here it is with all the main characters. There's me as the cat. There was the dog, the 2 mice. The girl to the left, far left, she was Milk. The girl on the far right was Sugar. And then these two orphan girls were traveling around looking for the bluebird to bring happiness to the world. So that was the main part of the story. And Madam was fantastic at using bits and pieces of music of her choice and changing the story from the original Bluebird Ballet story. She was amazing like that.
So this
And then
picture is the Bluebird fairy tale.
that was the Bluebird Ballet,
Right.
yes.
Right.
Yes. One.
Stunning.
And then this one shows here, this was another operetta at the National Theatre called The Gypsy Baron. That's my mum and me. Mum did the most incredible bits and pieces. I mean, to see her, she was dancing gypsy dances where she was tumbling over the shoulders of the man she was dancing with. I remember sitting in awe. I must have been about 6 there, and there I am dancing on the stage as well, singing on the stage as well. But it was really great to have Mum on stage with me. It was my first musical. I'd been used to ballets, and so that was my first musical. And even here you can see Mum didn't, here's the partner in the center there. That's the partner. He was from America, that she did this incredible gypsy dance, what she did, falling from his shoulders and into his arms and all sorts of things. On the far left, we ended up in the Kenya Broadcasting studios, TV studios, being filmed for one of the ballets. And that's my mum on the right, pretending to be an ice cream vendor in Victorian London. So my mum was game to do all sorts of things. Here she is in the middle as well as a witch with Hansel and Gretel. That's my mum as a witch. And down on the far right, she loved doing the character parts. That's a Russian bear trainer and the bear. So she was the Russian bear trainer with a beard and drinking her vodka, and she was amazing, very versatile, amazing lady, really.
She certainly sounds like it.
Yes.
Wow. Stunning photos. And this one?
This one was in the land of grandparents and the grandchildren. It was another ballet where a fairy princess had to go to the land of unborn children and this land and that land. And this one was, I can't remember what land it was, but in the background, you might just be able to see a very Victorian looking woman and a man. And the Victorian woman in a crinoline and everything is my dad, dressed up as a Victorian woman. And to his right is my brother, dressed up as a Victorian man, and my brother was about 18. So when I say we were all together in shows.
Well, they're absolutely stunning photos. So before we close out, Jenetta, I know that you wanted to explain about Insight.
Yes. And
can you share with the viewers about Insight?
Yes. Well, Insight was a show we put together with contemporary dance and voiceover, and as you can see there, a lot of it was written. We used original music and also known music. This one was on death. Amazing choreography from Arnie. This one was on Vincent van Gogh and his beautiful art, even though he ended his life. This was the opening of the show, showing how isolated people feel in a crowd and how judged they feel. This is me directing as a director of the show on stage, as we were trying to put together all the technical and the dancing together. And this was the finale, which was basically when you have an epiphany moment. So it was a hugely successful show.
It's it's got a strong presence. I can understand now, as looking at the pictures, just looking at the pictures, you have a feeling towards it. It's almost you connect with it. So as far as the live performance, That's incredible what you do. Well, Jenetta, before we close out, can you share with our viewers how they can contact you and who would you like to contact you?
Well, anybody who'd like to know more about how to get through trying times, maybe you're feeling like you're yo-yoing in these times. I'm finding this year, most of my clients are men, and quite a few are pilots, by the way, who cannot admit that they're dealing with depression and anxiety. So anybody who's feeling like they just don't know how to get control of their lives and that their lives are controlling them, I've helped thousands of people. So you can get hold of me on theepiphanyprocess.com or on WhatsApp on +44 777 423 0464. Or if you would like to get more involved with World Jenny's Day and hear more about that, go to worldjennysday.com. And we'd be delighted to chat with you some more.
Oh, there you go. Here we go. The epiphany process as well, Jenetta. Can you explain?
Yes, epiphany, yeah, the communicator. It's just so heart-opening. I've been dealing with quite a few suicidally inclined teenage boys and young early adult men this year, and watching their hearts start to open and start talking their truth from a place of that lightness of being, and not worried about what other people think, say, or do. And it's so very rewarding, just amazing. So if you'd like a piece of that, do come and talk with me.
Well, Jenetta, we're going to have to be closing out soon in the show. Just want to thank you so much for being a guest on the Film and Music Show. And I'm sure that there's so much more for you to share with our viewers. So you must, please do come back. In fact, I think you are coming back. Isn't it around October?
October the 7th.
So
with Madu, yes. And Kenyan music. Yeah.
How exciting that's going to be.
Madeleine and Dr. Jacqueline, so lovely to be back here. Claudia, thank you so much for your support and your writings. It's just wonderful to have you on the show, remarking as well. And just huge amounts of love to you all and to all our audience and listeners out there. It's just been such an honor and pleasure to share with you this evening.
Thank you very much, Jenetta. And so what we're going to say now is we're going to have a word from our sponsors, but I just want to say thank you so much, everyone. And remember, Film and Music Show is broadcasted live twice a month. So please do go on to usaglobaltv.com/book your session on the Film and Music Show. We want to hear more exciting stories of your creative hearts, your passion, your purpose and belief. And don't forget, remember, subscribe, everybody. So my name is Dr. Madelenechan, and thank you to Dr. Jacqueline. She's amazing. She's the producer. She's been the producer, and she's the mother. She's the founder and the mother of USA Global TV and Radio, which continues to be evolving at such a vast rate. Thank you, and we'll see you in 2 weeks' time. Okay, thanks. Bye-bye.
Meet Lady Ella, a special ladybug who is trained by Grand Beetle on how to listen at an elevated level. After earning her gold wings, Mother Earth and Father Universe asked her to travel across the solar system, teaching life lessons to creatures to respect one another and to listen. Learn more about her travels in the book series, The Amazing Adventures of Lady Ella. The Amazing Adventures of Lady Ella, the Listening Mentor. Lady Ella's ABCs of Listening. Lady Ella has afternoon tea in London. The ocean calls and Lady Ella listens. Lady Ella listens in the Baobab National Game Park. Lady Ella's space adventure across the universe. The magical adventures of Lady Ella and her super-powered friends. There are also collections of colouring books for parents and kids. Providing world-class education, entertainment, hope and inspiration. Join our team of elevated listeners to teach children elevated listening skills. Lady Ella would like to teach you and your family how to listen at an elevated level. If you're interested in learning life lessons as well as how to communicate more effectively as a family, go to Amazon and order Lady Ella's books. They're all there just waiting for you.